Hey friends, it's Allie with Alley Oops Boutique and Alley Oops Market House. I am going to show you the cutest little Halloween craft that you can do. It's super easy. If you're a crafter like me, you probably already have a lot of these things on hand. And if not, I will drop the links in the description so that you can find them, get your hands on these little supplies. There's really not much to this. It's so cute. I'm going to make some little ghost tassels. And I searched the internet looking for, I wanted to make a garland for Halloween, and I wanted to make ghost tassels. And you would think that's not that big a deal. I had seen several of them made with an actual tassel and the little eyes on the yarn. The yarn was the head and then it had the tassel, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But I didn't want that. I wanted my little head of my ghost to be a bead, and a little wood bead that I had painted just like this. So I was playing around with it the other day and I figured out how to do it. Now it's really simple. It shouldn't have taken me as long as it did to figure out how to make this little ghost tassel, but it did. You know, some days are like that. Maybe I didn't have enough coffee that day. So this one's super easy, and I'm going to show you how I made my little ghost tassels. So for this project, I'm going to use some yarn, white yarn, just regular. I don't know what the weight of the yarn is, but it's just your basic white yarn. Some wooden beads that I've painted white, and some black paint. And I'm just using Dixie Belle Caviar chalk paint that I had a little bit left. And what I did is I cut a piece of cardboard that I could wrap my tassel around. So it's super easy. I'm going to show you how I made this little ghost tassel, and you can use it on a garland. You could, oh gosh, there's so many things you could do. You could attach it to, I saw a little piece of fuzz. You can attach it to a napkin ring. I'm sure there's a million things that we can think of, and I'll list those in the descriptions as they come to me. But Bethany had suggested taking a little lobster claw clasp and attaching it to the little ghost so that you can take them on and off and change them out. So let's get started and make this quick and easy little ghost. Okay, so the first thing I did before I started is I had a little wood bead and I just painted it white. Now I do have a video that shows you easy ways to paint wood beads. One way is to, that you can watch, it's on this channel by the way. One way is you can feed it onto a skewer and paint it easily with a brush. You can put several beads on and paint them at once. Sometimes I like to string a bunch on and stick it in some styrofoam and then just paint it. Another way is to water down a little bit of paint, put it in a mason jar, throw your beads in there, shake it up, and then take them out and put them on a little skewer to dry. So there's a few different ways you can paint them, but I already had one. I do a lot of bead garlands, and so I already had one already painted up. Now it's a little distressed, and that's okay. I love distressed on my projects. I love them to have a little bit of aging. So I cut this out, and I'm going to look real quick. I don't know. I'm sure someone will ask what the measurements are. So this one is 5 inches. Okay. And then obviously this way is for my longer tassels. It's 7 inches. Sometimes I like, oh look, I have a phone number on there. That's how come things don't get done around here, because I'm always scratching on little pieces of paper and forgetting about them. Not a good habit. So I'm going to use this 5-inch side today. So there you go. It's a 5-inch little piece of cardboard. And I'm going to just put my yarn. See, this is the end of the yarn right here. I'm going to hold it down and I'm going to start wrapping it around. So I think I'm going to do about 40-45 times around. So that's So that ought to get me a nice, let's just do 50. 6, 47, 48, 49, 50. All right, so that should give me a nice thick ghost, because I like good thick tassels. I don't like to be scrimpy on my tassels. So let me grab a pair of scissors. And all right, so see, I've got my little tail of my yarn. I'm going to cut it off right there. Okay, just like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is kind of slide another piece of yarn underneath here and go ahead and get it around the top before you pull it off. Before you pull it off the cardboard. Sometimes I just snatch it right off the cardboard, but I'm gonna pull it, tie it off this time. Let me get a little bit more yarn on that. So then we're gonna okay. So I'm going to tighten that up when I pull it off, but I just wanted to go ahead and secure it in some way. So now I'm just going to, as gently as possible, you can see my cardboard gets beat up. You might have to kind of bend it just a smidge to get it off, but just be careful. You want to keep it attached just like that. Okay. So now, let's see. Where are my two ends? My two ends are right here. I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to set my yarn to the side and get it out of the way because I won't need it anymore. Okay, so now where I tied that, I think I might want to go back around. You don't have to go to all this trouble, but I'm just pulling it right back around and pulling it tight. Kind of tightening it up just a bit. There we go. As tight as you can. But so this is what you have. You have this loop of yarn tied together. So now I'm going to just cut it. I'm going to pull it as straight as I can. Just like that. And cut it. Now these scissors are terrible, so don't judge me. These are not my good scissors. So now I have part of my tassel. Now ordinarily, what you can, a lot of people will do for tassels is they'll take another piece of yarn and they will wrap it around and around. They'll put little black eyes on there and there's your tassel ghost. But I didn't want mine like that. I wanted the bead to be the ghost head. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my two pieces of yarn, let me cut that I have left, and I'm feeding it through my little bead. And we're hoping it works like a charm, but you may have to poke it on through with the skewer or needle. Big upholstery needles work really well. Okay, look, tweezers worked great. So maybe you should have some tweezers on and how about that? All right, so now I have pulled my end of my yarn, my two little pieces that I tied it on, and I pulled it as tight as I can, and I'm going to tie a knot. All right, so I did a second one, and you might even want to do a third one, just to make sure that it doesn't slip back through that wooden bead. The next step is to trim your ghost. And so I just kind of do it like I did when I was cutting hair. I go across the bottom, just hold it all together go across the bottom and even it out. So there you go. There's the little guy, right like that. So now we are gonna paint his little face. And this is super easy. I just got a teeny tiny little detail brush and I'm going to paint his little eyes on. Now you could even use Sharpie if you want to. I just happen to have paint handy and I'm still pretty good with the paintbrush, but my hands are pretty steady. But you could for sure use a Sharpie and that might be easier for you. So there's one little eye. I'm going to do another little eye. It's a googly eye ghost. And then I wanted his mouth to be like he was kind of going, ooh. So I did a little misshapen mouth. So can you see there? How cute is that? So that's my little ghost tassel. So this little ghost tassel is going to adorn my garland, and I might add a few little pumpkins, but I just wanted to show you how I made that cute little ghost tassel. Okay, now that I have painted my little ghosts and they're all ready, I did my tassels, I found my velvet pumpkins that I'm going to put in between the ghosts. I'm going to thread my garland. Now, these little pumpkins, I didn't want to attach anything to the top, so I'm actually going to feed this through the twine through the pumpkin so that I don't have to attach something on the top to put it to the garland. I use a big upholstery needle for it. It's got a nice big eye that I can get my twine through. And I use this also for doing fabric pumpkins when I make them, to do my version of tufting with the twine. So I went ahead and threaded my needle so you didn't have to see me suffer through that. And I'm going to start to thread my beads. Now, I did say that I bought this string of beads. It's a pre-made garland of beads that I'm going to use, but I am going to have to take them off because my twine is not going to be long enough once I add my ghosts and pumpkins. So I did some halfway decent math and I figured out that I want to do 9 in between them, and then I'll go back and put whatever's left, I'll divide it evenly and put on the end. So I'm going to do a little pumpkin first, and I'm going to stick the needle through the pumpkin, take a little teeny seam ripper and loosen that fabric up just a bit. You could also take your scissors, which I might do, and there we go. Here, it's coming through. So there you go. You've got your little pumpkin on there. Now, I'm watching him turn just a bit. I may do on the next one, go up a little higher so he doesn't turn. But all your little things might turn. You know how garlands are. So normally I don't use a needle to thread beads, but you know why I'm using it? For this cute little pumpkin. How cute is that? That's adorable. I'm going to do my 9 beads. Then I'm going to pretend a ghost is there. I'm going to do 9 more. So I'm actually going to do pumpkin 18 beads, pumpkin 18 beads, and then we'll tie the little ghosts in when we're done. Okay, now let's tie our little ghosts tassels on our garland. I've strung all the garland. I put my pumpkins in, and we want to put a ghost every 9 beads. And now my daughter requested that her ghosts have little claw clips, lobster claw clips on them, so that she can to get my center, which would be 9 beads, that she can just clip them in for Halloween. See that? And then when it comes time for Thanksgiving decorations, she's gonna just clip it off. And she may add like a colored tassel there with a clip. So that's what she requested, but mine, I'm just gonna go ahead and tie these little guys on. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right here. I'm probably gonna go back, and I don't have any right now, but I'm probably going to go back and put a little super glue on my knot, and I might even go back where I put the little holes to get the twine through the pumpkins, put a little super glue there, or fray check, which is something if you sew, you know what I'm talking about. It keeps your fabric from fraying. You're just going to tie a couple of knots on there and then drop a bit of super glue and then cut these little ends off. And then you have the most adorable little garland. I think I'm going to go back and put lobster claws on all my ghosts. So I'll show you in just a minute how I did that. Okay, I'm going to show you how I attach this little lobster claw clip to the top of my ghost tassel so that I can take it on and off my garland to change from Halloween to fall. So I've cut a little piece of fishing line. It is 20-pound test fishing line. And I'm just going to poke it through this little knot here. You want to be sure that you get it all the way through that little knot. So it's basically hanging on there. So then what I'm going to do is, this has got a little hole in it. It's pretty easy. I don't need a needle or anything. And I'm going to stick the fishing line through the little lobster claw hole. And then look here what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it like I'm tying a shoe. I'm going to go under my loop. Then I'm going to do it a second time. And then I'm going to pull tight. I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to go under my loop, tie it one more time. Now, I'm going to go ahead, tie another knot right there. Can't have too many knots. And then there you go. There's a little lobster clip so I can attach my little ghost. The final thing I'm going to do is take, again, a little bit of super glue, drop it on that fishing line and that knot just to keep everything from fraying. I'm going to trim off these little pieces that are sticking out, and then the little lobster claw is attached to my ghost tassel.